Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That is Public Access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. Over here, Bud Supple. Between us, Earl Murphy. And once again, we've got very special guest, Pat White. Welcome back, Pat.
Good to see you guys again.
Always good to have you. My mom's a big fan of yours.
Oh, yeah?
She doesn't even know you, but she said he speaks very well. And I agree. I think we all agree.
A defunct county attorney.
Defunct, eh? Well, I don't know about defunct, but I know he brings a wealth of knowledge about the Iowa women's basketball program, among other things. In fact, last night, Pat and I had a nice conversation about the fact today is the winter sports senior high school signing day for their letters of intent. And one of the individuals that the only individual that the Iowa men's basketball team is signing is a young man out of Des Moines whose name is Peter Jok, and that's spelled J-O-K. And since you and I spoke, I spent a little time looking into Peter.
Interesting background.
He is from the Sudan, the war-torn Sudan. Both his father and grandfather, who were in the army, were murdered, or killed, I guess. They were in the Sudanese Liberation Army. His mother is a member of the Board of Parliament, I think I have that right, and is still over there. So he and his siblings are living with host families here in Des Moines. He has an older brother, Dow, who plays basketball for Penn out in the Ivy League. He is a 6'6" point guard who never played basketball growing up until, I think, 4th grade, and hated it. He was a soccer player instead. And what I also learned when I looked up about him is that Manute Bol, the 7'7" NBA center, is a cousin of his, and Luol Deng, the Chicago Bulls forward, very good basketball player, is also a relative on his mother's side. So he's got basketball in his bloodlines. And
How tall is his mother?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know how tall his brother is either.
As we tape this for airing Wednesday night, his letter of intent's already been received. So the athletic department's already put out a release acknowledging that he will be playing for the Hawks next year.
Yeah.
When he was in 8th grade, as early as 8th grade, 8th and 9th, he was viewed as a can't-miss prospect. And then he had a really bad knee injury. Wasn't an ACL.
It was a tendon.
Yeah.
Patellar tendon, which is real serious stuff.
And he was, at the time, he was playing for Des Moines Roosevelt. And he transferred. He played last year at West Des Moines Valley, which is where he'll play this year, and where he's coached by former Hawkeye Jeff Horner.
Yeah.
That's pretty good contact.
Yeah, it is. He was well known before he got to Jeff's tutelage.
Des Moines has a rather large Sudanese population, and so they fled the Sudan and came to Des Moines because they had heard of this.
But they come here.
Right.
It's not like an exchange student.
No, they were escaping
And
civil
all these
war.
other guys with the Bulls and
they're also
they
Sudanese.
just come here?
Yep.
Des Moines is for a long time, going all the way back to Vietnam, has had a fairly strong refugee war refugee program, and that's how he got there.
See, Regina's had a couple exchange students.
Right.
Well, the biggest problem with them, one of them had to go back just before the tournament.
You're just so that.
Huh? Yeah, you're just so allowed so much time or something, and his time was up.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 4 years or 3 years or what it is.
I didn't know that. Well, Peter Jok, again, spelled J-O-K, has a lot of skills, and he's just coming around from this really pretty serious knee injury to his patellar tendon. It pretty much totally wiped out his junior year, and it really was a problem his sophomore year as well. So all these big schools that had been after him his freshman year, even 8th grade year, they dropped off. But friend of Sports Opinion, Kirk Speraw, the Iowa assistant basketball coach, stayed with him the whole time, never stopped recruiting. And Peter refers to him and the other coaches, like Fran McCaffrey, as family. He's got good people with him in Des Moines who have guided him, and it sounds like the kid's really pretty stellar.
Did you give us his weight?
I don't know his weight.
He's about 210, 220. He's 6'6".
You still have growth.
Point guard, too.
Probably not going to grow any taller. He'll probably play 2 and 3 here.
Okay.
We're pretty well fixed at point guard for the next 4 years, and in terms of basket of skills, I think he is the closest analogy on the current Iowa team would be Devin Marble, assuming that he's fully healed from the knee injury.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a gamble because he's not the last year. He's not been the basketball player he was when he was younger, but
he's going to play this year.
yeah. Oh yeah, he played last year.
Oh, he did play last year too.
Yeah.
Now they're pretty good, aren't they?
He averaged like something like 10 points last year.
That's good.
Not nearly the speed and agility that he'd been when he was in 8th and 9th grade. But if he is healed, he'll have an impact here.
Yeah.
Particularly if Devin goes to the NBA, which he's openly talking about wanting to do.
We'll see.
Now we poo-pooed when Ricky Davis talked about going after a year, and this will be after 3 years in the program.
Was that Ricky from Davenport?
Yeah. Yeah, he went after a year.
Now, last night, Pat and I talked a little bit about Devin Marble. I was a little critical of his game against Central Michigan the other night. Former, Iowa alum, West High alum, Keno Davis, son of Dr. Tom Davis, is the head coach at Central Michigan. And we were laughing about the style of play of Central Michigan, who just ran up and down the floor every clock stoppage. They're bringing in multiple players, and taking multiple out. And I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Well, even Dr. Tom didn't substitute as much as Keno did. And I mean, the kids on his team have got to be trained to get up quick, get to the scorer's table and in, because there's not much time. And Keno didn't make the substitutions. It's an assistant coach who points, and they run in.
They're going to beat some teams.
I mean, there were
They are.
There were times that they had players that were on the court less than a minute.
They didn't have anybody over 6'2" in their starting lineup. And I thought Iowa would just wear them down and blow them out. And it just didn't happen. And I thought Devin Marble, he looked off that night. His shot just was short and tight, and then Pat explained.
Well, he's been hurt. He got bumped somehow in practice. I don't know if he hit the floor or it was a collision, but he's wearing a pad that I don't know for sure how thick it is, but it's probably at least a quarter to a half an inch thick around his whole waist, covering his hips to try to cushion against further injury to the hip. So it's probably a little awkward to play with something that's significant.
He's still coming off pneumonia.
Yeah, he had pneumonia right when we started. He'd only practiced for a day or two when we had our exhibition game against Quincy.
Well, he's shooting real well.
He's had kind of a rocky beginning.
He has.
But he played all 40 minutes.
That's right.
That's what I don't get.
He did not come out.
They said that.
I thought he played pretty good.
Well, he's a talented athlete.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
He can drive. He can shoot.
He's an athlete.
He's got hops, handles the ball. Well, he played point guard quite a bit last year.
Yeah.
He had 3-point guards last night.
He had
I don't like
Clemens. Clemens was the guy who really kept us ahead
he made
of
the last
Central
shot of the
Michigan.
first half.
Yep. And I was not impressed with Clemens the first game or two, but I was impressed with him the other night. He brings a lot more to the table than just scoring.
You were impressed with the regular yard, weren't you?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Gasell?
Yeah.
And Fran had talked about playing them together, and that was the first of any length of time that he played them together. And obviously, it allows Gazelle to free himself up for a shot. He doesn't have to worry about controlling the ball and bringing it up. And,
Doesn't he have a pretty shot?
oh, he does.
Oh, God.
Just very nice. It's going to be fun to watch him
Isn't
for
it?
4 years.
Yes.
And it's fun to watch this team play every game.
It is.
No matter who's on the floor, they bring something besides excitement and talent. They bring a certain flair. Gabe Olaseni, he's going to be fun to watch this year. They've got a couple games this week.
You know that Big Ten is going to be tough.
Oh, they are.
Michigan
Brutal.
State took care.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the wins they got.
Did you
from
watch
Big
that
Ten.
game?
I watched the end of it.
Yeah.
I watched sporadically to the end of the first half and through the second half. Then I watched probably the last 4 or 5 minutes.
And normally he loses those first
Yeah.
when the season starts.
As bad as the Big Ten is in football this year, or maybe as down as the Big Ten is in football, they're going to be that much more impressive in basketball.
Well, you mentioned I don't know if it's pronounced Olashini. That's what I hear over the PA.
Yeah.
But when he's guarding the ball on the point of our press, guarding the inbound pass, that's unbelievable.
His wingspan
Yeah.
is just unbelievable.
He's really very good at that. It's very hard to get the ball past him.
Yeah. And then you've
doesn't
got,
have much of a shot.
not yet. He needs to work on finishing around the basket, but he will. You can just see it'll come. Then you've got Woodbury, Adam Woodbury, the 7'1" freshman, who doesn't look like he's 7 feet 1 inches tall, just based on his body build. He's got, I think, short arms for a 7-footer. But he carries himself well, and he is going to be a force in the paint.
We're a totally different team than we were the
Yes.
last several years, even before Fran got here. You put Woodbury, start out the game with Woodbury in the middle on defense, it's a completely different game.
Yes.
And it's exciting. I mean, you've got all these kids from Sioux City that are having an impact. Eric May.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. It is.
Who's his contact up there?
Well, Kirk.
It's where he grew up.
Okay.
Kirk Speraw.
Yeah.
Grew up
Okay.
out there. And,
We've got the football players out of there too.
yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a real exciting time for Iowa basketball, both men's and women's. The men have a game at home, have 2 home games this week, Thursday night and Saturday night. Both games, there we go, at 7 o'clock. Both games on Mediacom Connections, Channel 22. KXIC will have the games as well, but that's, if you don't have on media, or if you don't have Mediacom cable TV, you won't be able to watch the game on TV.
When's the tournament?
It's next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. The men's team will be in Cancun. And the first night they are going to play, the first night, Tuesday night, at 8:30, they are going to play, where did I put it? Western Kentucky. And then Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving, they will play either DePaul or Wichita State. 2 good basketball
We'll
programs
find out
traditionally.
how good they are, those two.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, Saturday night they play Gardner Webb, which,
Now that's the beginning of it, right?
no. You're talking about this Cancun tournament?
I thought one game was going to be on home courts of different things, and
think
then
that's
they go
women.
to Cancun.
I think that's
Oh, okay.
at least the WNIT that's going on now. They had 2. We're going to get to women here in just a second. Let me check my.
You know what, while you're checking, one of the things that we ought to acknowledge about the men's team is Melsan Basabi.
Yeah.
He came in for a well-deserved criticism last year in terms of his conditioning and his apparent interest in the game, but he's a totally different player this year. He's in shape. He's playing hard,
Yes.
coming off the bench.
Yeah. He almost looks like he's got free room with the whole court.
Well, he's doing everything.
Yeah,
How about those block shots the other night?
Yes.
He had like 3 in a space of about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
It was beautiful. I'd like to see him control that ability and kind of keep those swats in play. But
Very, very nice.
we'll take it. That's a good point. No, the men's team
Just
is
for-
not in a tournament other than this Cancun
And the Iowa.
2-day festival.
And the one in Des Moines, that's sort of a tournament.
Yeah, the round
Or
robin.
we just play one game.
Play one game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They will be late in December in the San Diego Surf and Slam. And the first game they play is Texas, first team. That's December 28th. And then, now get this, they would then play, depending on whether they win or lose, Central Michigan again.
Really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Either Central Michigan or San Diego.
Yeah, okay.
So that's late December. But no, this week, Howard, which is the all-black university in Washington, D.C., and then Saturday night, 7 p.m., Gardner-Webb. Now, don't be fooled. Gardner-Webb's a heck of a ball club. They just about beat North Carolina earlier, I think last week. They're going to bring it. It's going to be an up and down, get after it game. So, a lot to look forward to with Hawkeye basketball and for the men.
How many games do they play the rest of the week?
This week they have 2 more games, and then next week they have 2 before Thanksgiving.
They play Friday night,
Thursday,
And Saturday.
Thursday and Saturday.
Both games
okay.
at 7 p.m. Both games on Channel 22 on cable, and both games at home.
Okay.
Yep. And then next week, Tuesday, Wednesday in Cancun, and then that's it for next week.
How about the girls?
The women, Pat is going to tell us all about the women's team and what they've been up to.
They play tonight. Unfortunately, right at the same time this program will be airing, starting at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. And tonight's game is the semifinal game of the preseason NIT. The other game is Georgetown versus North Carolina. Now that I think about it, I can't actually tell you where that's being played, at which school. The winners of those 2 games will play Sunday. And it's possible that we'll be at home for that one.
That would be
the
great.
WNIT will make a decision probably tonight, and main factor being attendance, who has the most paying fannies in the seats. And Sunday night, when we beat Illinois State in the last WNIT game we played, they announced right at the end of the game that we would be hosting tonight. A little different system. The season ticket package didn't include this game. The schedule showed there would be a game, but we didn't have any idea whether or who we'd be playing. So
Or where.
people had to go to the ticket office or go online to HawkeyeSports.com to buy tickets.
And it's a good team tonight.
Should be a good game. The Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, their home is Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Fairly decent-sized school, probably 27,000 students. They made the NCAA last year. They return all of their starters. They won the Sun Belt Conference last year. They are quick. Probably can outjump us, but we'll be taller in the starting lineup. But we'll be taller than most everybody we play this year. We've gone to this high-low post system with 6'5" Morgan Johnson, who's off to a really good start, and 6'4" Bethany Doolittle. And Bethany's starting to hit her stride. The team is still getting used to its completely different offense, having these 2 posts in at the same time. Completely different offense, which has taken a little adjustment, but they're starting to get used to it. Tiara Taylor, who's starting, had a double-double in the last game against Illinois State, 10 points, 11 rebounds, a pretty impressive performance. And she's gone through an unbelievable series of 3 ACL tears, the same knee twice, obviously.
Where's she from?
She's from Minneapolis.
Right.
And I loved a quote of hers last week at Lisa's press conference. She usually brings, both after games and even during the week, a player or two to let the press question. And somebody at the press conference asked Thiara a question, and she's gone through a period, as you would naturally, of some apprehension after a knee injury and wearing a brace. But this reporter asked her how she was adjusting, if she was getting more comfortable and relaxed, and her answer was, "Well, I'm not puking this year."
Yeah. She gets a little nervous before
last year before the game, she was sick to her stomach.
See, I got a call last night from the girl from Marion, Pretty.
Jamie Prenny?
Yeah, she said, I appreciate your support, and I think she was referring to the show. I don't know, or something.
Well, that was interesting.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, real. I said, and we it wasn't just a short visit. She started out. I said, "Are you reading something?" She said, "No." She said, "I'm being real honest with you," and I said, "You're from Marion." I said, "That's close to where Lisa Bluter came from." She said, "Down the block."
Right
Same
up the
block.
street.
Yeah.
And it was a nice conversation I had with her. So.
Wow, I wish Jamie would call me. She's kind of cute.
Yeah, I'm 89.
I noticed Sunday that her brother Jordan was in the stands to watch her. He played at Linn-Mar and his college
State.
career at Indiana State. He's graduated now.
And where is he coaching?
I can't tell you that.
Is it UNI? No.
No, it wouldn't be you and I don't.
No.
I don't know. Coaching or graduate assistant?
Something, yeah. I read about it, and I
don't
can't
know.
remember now. Oh, well. Well, that's kind of nice touch.
Yes.
Wow.
Jamie's just a terrific kid, and she's fighting through rehabilitation of an ACL surgery and a hamstring injury. One of the things I learned, in fact, I may have mentioned it here before, that was a little bit of a surprise to me. When she had her ACL surgery last February, she went down at Wisconsin, had it week following. They also did surgery on her other leg to take tissue out of the leg to put in her injured hamstring. And one of the things I'm wondering is if there's some relation to that surgery and the hamstring injury that she's also fighting through now, which has clearly slowed her down. I mean, the brace on her knee has her just not as quick and as agile as she was. She's not yet starting. But the first game, she scored 10 or 11 points and looked really good. She was off her game Sunday. But hopefully she'll work her way back in. It will be, if she ever works her way back into starting, it'll be interesting whose place she takes, because the two candidates to not start are Thiara, who's playing really well, and Melissa Dixon, who's shooting the lights out.
She's our shooter.
Just beautiful.
But it's nice to have that sort of depth on the bench.
Yeah,
Oh, and they deserve that.
especially in basketball.
They've been through so much, injury-wise, and they're due. They're due a healthy season, and Jamie especially, and Thiara.
A lot of similarities between the men's and women's. They both win.
Well, and they both got some depth this year. The women's team, for the first time in a long time, is getting strong bench play from people like Tricia Nesbitt, who's a senior from Ames this year. Kathy Thomas, who's the junior college point guard that Lisa recruited this year, originally from Flint, Michigan, is given 10 to 15 minutes a game and fairly productively at point guard.
She's kind of a tough-looking
She's
gal.
Yes.
well, I don't know if I'd say tough-looking. She's
She's a good player.
she's built well,
Yeah.
solid. But she's handling the point guard duties, backing up Sam Logic fairly well. And then Callie Peschel has been, she's a freshman from Minnesota. Been the first freshman off the bench. Kayla Timmerman, who's also from Minneapolis, has backing up Morgan Johnson at center and playing really well. She sank a three-pointer against Illinois State on Sunday,
I
which
thought both of them looked
Beautiful
good.
shot.
wonderful attribute for your backup center to be
Yeah.
able to go outside and swish a three.
Does Minnesota have good basketball?
But you know, we've had some success recruiting
I know,
up
it
there.
seems
They have good
like-
high school basketball, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My explanation is Minnesota has only one Division I program.
Okay.
Minneapolis is obviously a much bigger city than anything we have in Iowa and all of their suburbs. And so, and their program has frankly been mediocre to a little less than mediocre for about 10 years now. And so Lisa's had a fair amount of success in
Good.
identifying good Minnesota talent and going up there and convincing them to come to Iowa.
Do you have any report on Zisterhoff?
Well, she is scheduled to sign her letter of intent today, as
Allie Disterhoff from Iowa City West
from
High.
West High. As we're taping this a little after noon, I cannot verify that she has, but West High has announced that she was going to this morning and is going to have a reception for the signees, not just Allie, but other basketball signees,
At
or
West
Jeremy
High.
Morgan. Yeah.
At West.
Jeremy Morgan with UNI and Dondre Alexander with Southern Mississippi are going to sign Division I letters of intent today.
They've got look, volleyball players to sign, baseball,
Right.
softball.
They'll be ranked very high in both boys and girls basketball this year.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, the women's program is expected to sign Alexa Luneskis, and she's from?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, okay. So, two more players coming in. This year we will lose Jamie
Lose-
Printy
Jamie,
after the season, of course.
Tricia Nesbitt,
And Tricia Nesbitt.
Morgan Johnson.
And, oh gosh, of course. So we've only, how come they're only signing two? Or am I
Well-
overlooking someone?
No, that's at this point that's it. She certainly looked at other players, and ultimately the ones she would have offered a scholarship to and probably did are going to. One is going to Oklahoma from either Ames or Ankeny. There's a girl from Ankeny that went to Oklahoma last year. She looked at a couple of other girls from Minnesota, interestingly, but didn't offer them scholarships. And, you know, I think all coaches, and especially basketball coaches, when you have a much smaller squad, just make very tough judgments about who's going to fit, who's likely to get playing time. And I know she looked at a girl that was 6'8" from Minnesota, who is verbal, and I assume is going to sign today with UCLA. Now, I know, I don't think Lisa offered her a scholarship. I think she just made a decision that she was more of a project than she wanted to take on, even at that height. And, of course, now we have one freshman who's 6'4" and one who's 6'3". Kayla Timmerman at 6'3" is, I think, playing very well. And Nicole Smith is the 6'4" freshman, who I think is going to play very well. She's also coming off an ACL surgery last spring, and she's only getting 2 or 3 minutes toward the end of the games. But she's got good size. She's strong, posts up very well. And when she sets up either on defense or offense in the paint, nobody's going to move her out of there. And I think next year with Morgan gone, she'll get a lot of playing time along with Kayla taking her place.
That's great. Yeah. Women's basketball, lots going on. Big game tonight as we speak. And then we'll see what happens on Sunday, whether they have another home game or not.
I'll tell you, Disterhoff, she really showed her abilities at the state basketball tournament. She was tremendous.
You know, it's just not her ability. Her work ethic is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
She will work harder at practice and in a game than anybody Lisa's got on her team. Now, and that's not to denigrate who she has now, because she has some people who really work hard.
That's right.
Allie, besides being very talented, is just dedicated to the game.
She comes from a good family too.
Yeah, I know her dad well.
Oh, he's a honey.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And I see she's got a little brother.
Well, and her mom played for Drake.
Right.
Yes. Huh?
Yeah. So
What was her name?
Slockett.
Slockett.
Missy Slockett from Marengo.
Yeah, well, that's where it's.
Yeah,
That's where the recorder's from.
auditor.
Auditor.
It's Allie
And
is a
and
niece.
his,
Oh.
and,
Allie
his,
is
bro-
Tom
and
Slockett's
his brother
niece.
was the sheriff over there.
Yeah,
really?
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Did you exchange any prisoners or anything?
No, but she'll get a computer, I bet.
Oh, Patrick.
you're starting trouble now, Bud. If you have any complaints about that most recent comment, you can call Bud after midnight tonight on his home phone. He won't mind. Well, speaking of Bud, let's talk about Regina.
Why not?
Regina football. They had a big game last Saturday morning at the Unidome against Dyke New Hartford. Undefeated.
Did you see the game?
No, I didn't see a lick of it. Bud was there.
Yes.
And I kind of wish I would have gone to that game instead of the Hawkeye game, but
Was a good decision.
yeah. You saw
But it was
another
tough,
very, Regina this year is late in the season showing the ability to adjust each and every game in the playoffs.
Especially at halftime.
At halftime, you saw an amazing comeback. Tell us about it.
Well, I've never seen. First of all the football games I've seen in high school, that Ward's by far the best quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's through that. Fourth down now.
Okay,
Fourth down.
let's set up the play for us.
Okay,
Fourth down,
fourth
19
down,
to go.
19 to
middle
go.
of the third quarter. Tie game.
And they're on the 39.
Yeah.
So I
Who's
thought,
39?
well, they're going to kick.
Kick a field goal.
They're on 39 or Dyke New Hartford?
No, they're 39. No, they're on Dyke's 39.
So they should have punted and not field goal.
Well, Dullajaw has hit some
Yeah.
45, 48. But in the dome, it's a different situation, according to Marv. He says the ball don't float like it does outside or something. I mean, I don't. So I figured that they're
There's no
going to
wind behind it.
punt it. And then he goes over to
Hinkle.
Coach
Hinkle.
and Marv was there, and they talked the longest time. Like, come on, let's go. So he comes out there, he gets the ball, he goes to the left, throws just the most beautiful pass you've ever seen, right in the hands of
Was it Stress?
Streb.
Streb.
Right in the hands, right in it. I mean, and the guy Streb was smart on it too. You have to give Streb credit because he boxed the guy that was defending. He got ahead of him, but he boxed him where the guy couldn't get around without committing him.
Is this one of these shoulder passes that
No,
Marv has talked to us about it?
Yeah, but this one here hit more right in the basket, almost like he put his arms up there, hit it right here, and I'll grab it.
You guys must have just gone insane.
Oh,
when that happened.
I could not believe it. First of all, couldn't
Did he go
believe
for
it.
a touchdown?
No.
No,
They
it went
scored
to-
after that, but
Yeah,
not on
2 yard
that
lines,
play.
I think.
2 yard line. Okay.
Actually, it should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
Really?
But I think he was on the 2 yard.
So
called.
they score after that catch, and they're up by 7. And then didn't Dyke New Hartford fumble the kickoff after touchdown, and Regina recovered and scored
Right,
again?
right. But Regina was down
Right.
I
by
think
7.
That's right.
When we made that
they
pass.
tied it up.
They tied it
Oh,
up.
that tied it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, that tied it up. And then we kicked off, and they fumbled down on the
Close.
30. Well, he picked it up and ran a little ways. I mean, it was a fumble that hit the ground where you could pick it up. But at first, the kid that picked it up didn't realize that you could run with it.
Oh, really?
So they gave them time to catch him. But it was just, this coaching staff, people don't realize.
I do.
And I'm sure the people from Regina that watch it, but they work like they're pro coaches.
Well, they are. Marv is. We've all had occasion to listen to Marv talk about the intricacies of football. He's brilliant.
He is.
Brilliant.
He's just a delight to listen to. Talk about blocking schemes or pass patterns or defensive alignments. And I mean, I don't know what it would be. be like to be a player on his team, but I can imagine that you just can't help but learn the game inside and out.
Yeah. He's got good coaches who
Yeah.
know the game.
That's right, and they all get along together. I mean, there's a lot of coaches. I think they have 10 down there. I take the uniform, so I get to go down on the side. I always go up in the bleachers after I unload the uniforms and stuff, but I sit down there. And I got a chance to talk to Mark before the game. I was just joking. I said, Mark, to me, you look awful nervous.
Yeah.
And he says, I am.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this #2 team, and they had the best running back in the state of Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
2,000-yard rushing this
79
year for
yards.
Dayton and Hartford.
Yeah, and they held it in 79, so they knew they had their battle. And another thing I do, even though I had a grandchild on the team last year, this is a better ball team,
Is it?
you know, on the whole. I think, that's my opinion. I know.
Well, I think the
I get a lot
coaches
of
have done a
telephone.
better job. I don't know if better's the right word, but
Well, there's 2 sensational plays
Yeah,
the last 2
yeah.
couple games.
Well, yeah, and this is about the third one he's throwing like that.
Is that right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He just
Oh, yeah.
throws that ball. And,
Is he getting any offers?
oh, I'm sure he is.
Mark Ward, the quarterback?
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
I hope so. He runs the ball
I
so
know
well.
who's really after him that I heard. And
You and
the
I?
only reason I
Uh-huh.
I got Lehman goes to UNI, and he's there. They'd love to have him in that.
How about the tailback?
Well, he's just a junior.
Is he a junior? I thought he was a sophomore. Okay.
Yeah, he's junior.
What's his name?
Dixon.
Dixon. How did he do?
Riley Dixon?
He did okay, but they were cool. I mean, this is a good team they played, and they stopped him. I mean, he didn't get.
Riley
He
Dixon.
got around a couple times, but a couple times they stopped.
He had 138 yards
Oh, yeah.
rushing.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
But
28
that's low
carries.
for him.
Yeah, I know.
28 carries,
Yeah.
138 yards. Mike Donovan had 42 yards rushing. The
Now,
quarterback
he-
only had 15 yards rushing.
Yeah, we didn't run it much because you know how the quarterback runs it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, they had this all scouted pretty good. I mean, we played a good team.
Oh,
And
yeah.
to me, we're lucky St. Albert's is going to the final because Emmetsburg was ranked #2, and they also have a
Who beat St. Albert's?
St.
I don't know. That's a good
They've
question.
lost a game.
One
Yeah,
game. They're
right.
12-1.
Right.
They're ranked. Their highest
Eighth.
ranking was 8.
8th.
And they beat Emmetsburg. And I don't know where that game was. If it was, I think it had to be at Emmetsburg, didn't it? No, it had to be at the Unidome last week.
Yeah, I don't think Emmetsburg was beat.
Were they undefeated?
Yeah, I think so.
Emmetsburg, yeah, I know they were.
See, right now, Regina's played the #2 and the #3 team
They have. In 1A.
in 1A.
And then they played ranked teams in 2A.
Well, see, this
and
is what
3A.
helps them, I think.
Yeah.
You know, but that coaching staff is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just and watch and listen. One time it was so obvious on 3 receivers downfield, and they shouldn't have been. Our players didn't go after the quarterback. They stood there because these 2 receivers they knew were ineligible. It was waiting for a flag. No
Is
flag.
that right?
First time I've ever seen Marv go on the field. But this other coach really, I mean, they chewed on them the rest of that before the half and when they come out at half. I mean, it was so obvious. I mean, you got 5 referees
That's
and
right.
you got 3 guys downfield. Somebody has to see it.
Now, this title game, Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning, is going to be on both local AM radio stations, KXAC and KCJJ, but it's also going to be telecast live on KCRG 9.2.
Yeah, they all are.
Great.
Yeah, they all the state title games will be. That's channel 109 if you have cable. There are other ways to get it if you don't have cable, but it's nice.
Who does the announcing for that?
Well, one colored guy, he doesn't do the announcing, is Dan Delaney.
I know.
And then,
Former
got-
Regina,
yeah, well, and then the guy that was here,
Mark Allen.
Mark Allen, does a lot of the.
I thought he's not doing them anymore.
Isn't he? I wasn't sure. I
Well,
didn't see him there.
My
Normally
understanding
I see him there.
was that he's not,
Okay.
but we'll see. We'll find out.
but he was doing it for him.
Oh, he did.
So I don't know
Mark
who
Allen
the-
did a really good job.
Yeah.
I thought every year in, year out, didn't matter the sport,
Right.
wrestling,
His
boys
dad
and
was
girls
honored, wasn't he?
basketball.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just last week first time. And another thing is be interesting. Yet you guys have probably all heard how you and I is having a rough time,
They are.
and they
What
better
kind
get
of rough time?
Financial.
Somebody better get up there and get that dome taken care of. There's splits in that turf.
In the
and
turf.
there's dirtiness, and I mean, I thought
that right?
when I first started going there, I thought, what a beautiful place. But they need some work done on it, and I imagine it's something that they cut.
Probably. Well, big game Saturday for the Friday. I'm sorry, Friday morning, 11 a.m. I know Bud and I will
See,
be
they're,
there.
they're all the finals. They start Thursday. Like your 4A will be Thursday night because you and I's got a football game. So they start them Thursday. So all the final games from 8-man football all the way through will be Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. Well, good luck to the Regals. Hopefully, if we're lucky.
Do they play the lower teams? I mean, I don't know, not lower.
No, they have a funny way. They do.
They're doing it goofy. It's like on Thursday there's 8A and 8-man and 4A.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then
Okay.
Now, I think the
3A
reason
maybe.
of this, Earl, because I talked to one of the officials up there, is they know 4A is going to bring a lot of
Yeah,
crowd.
they try to balance the
Where they-
crowds.
yeah,
That-
that's just what they do.
makes sense.
Try to put a smaller
Right.
schools with the bigger schools.
Right.
Because they know the bigger schools are going to bring more people, and they don't want
That's
them to
right.
have to park too far
That's
away.
right. And
Has it-
3A will play with the A,
Ah,
and then the 1A and 2A plays. And that's how they got them all divided up because of the stand, which we had a fantastic crowd.
I was going to say, well, how was the crowd?
Ours was fantastic.
yeah. What about Dyke New Hartford?
Theirs was good, but St. Albert's, you could have got them in the Regina field.
It's a long
Really?
trip from
that
Council
right?
Bluffs. Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. Now, I read last night that Council Bluffs St. Albert's won the state title in 2009, and that they've been in the state title game 7 of the last 10 years.
I don't know about title.
That's what it said.
Okay, we played them in the title and beat them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they used to be
Is that
2A.
Heavens.
No, the kicker for Iowa, he was kicking for
Oh,
Regina.
yeah, Murray.
Daniel Murray.
Caught the pass.
Was that against Council Bluffs St.
I
Albert's?
think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was Dyke
Okay.
New Hartford.
Okay.
Well, either way.
Okay.
But then last year I watched them get beat because we were 2A and they were 1A, and they played just before we played, so they got beat last year. I know. But they're up there all the time. Same with their basketball.
Joe, how we doing on time, my friend?
But I don't think you ever hear about any of the other
6
Council Bluffs
minutes.
team anymore.
What?
15
Like-
minutes. 15.
The teams in Council Bluffs, the high schools, you don't hear much about them any.
Well, you ever been to Council Bluffs?
Yeah, but they still have school.
There are a lot of people that refer to it as Council Tucky.
Well, I'm sure they play a lot of Nebraska schools too in
Oh, yeah.
conference over there.
Well, let's switch gears and talk about a fairly unpleasant subject. Let's talk about Hawkeye football. 4 losses in a row, and more than 4 games in a row. They just haven't looked sharp. They look uninspired. They look to lack execution.
You know, an honest assessment is they didn't look sharp early in the year. They didn't look sharp against Iowa State.
They didn't look sharp against Northern Iowa.
Right.
I'm sorry, not Northern Iowa, Northern Illinois.
Right. No, we were lucky to win that.
Yeah, and that's a good Northern Illinois
They
team.
haven't lost.
That's right.
They're ranked number.
That was a
they're in the
good
rankings,
win.
Yeah.
That was a good win, but each game, even, I remember walking out of the Minnesota game, which we won. And I remember thinking, the first half was exciting and well played, and then the second half they just seemed to revert back to the shabby ways against Iowa State.
See what gets me though. 7 games by 3 points.
Yeah.
7 games. Now, aren't the odds that you win 1 or 2 of those?
Well,
we
we
did.
did. We did.
Michigan State. Was Northern Iowa one of those games?
No.
Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois, that's
Okay.
it.
But I mean, we lost 7 games.
We could have
And,
beaten
and
Purdue.
the truth is,
No.
we had Central Michigan beat.
No.
We just gave it away.
Yeah.
Boy, did we give that
Barely
away.
had them beat.
I think that
But just sometimes I blame that on the coaching. Last week, you got 31 seconds, was it, or less than that?
You mean
And
in
they
the
marched
game?
the ball down there and kicked
2
a field
plays.
goal.
2 plays.
Two
and
plays.
And you
But
know
we
what?
weren't prepared to stop him
I knew
anyway.
it was coming. I knew
Oh,
it was coming.
I listened to it on the way home, and I thought, oh.
It's a combination of things. Okay, first off, I think you got to talk about the injuries to the offensive line. Losing Brandon Scherf and Donald really impacted the running game.
And it's not just the line. I think Brad Rogers is as important as the two of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
We just haven't had anybody blocking in the hole since he got hurt, leading the runner. I mean,
Yes.
that's one of the reasons we're not gaining any yards anymore.
Now, Pat, if you can see that, why can't the coaching staff?
Well, I think they can, but
They see it.
against Purdue, I don't know if they don't think the other fullbacks can do this, but against Purdue, they tried to compensate. They made a little change in the way they were using the tight ends. Move the tight ends back to try to take up the role that Brad Rogers had blocking for the runner, but they'd never done that before. And Zach Derby, they didn't use Fedorowicz back there, but they did use Zach Derby doing it. And they used Henry Krieger-Coble, who had played almost not at all. He'd played on the kickoff receiving team, but
Is he
he
a
had
true freshman?
no redshirt.
Redshirt freshman.
The other
The Mount
the
Pleasant
other
kid.
Kittle from Oklahoma is a
Yeah.
true freshman. But it didn't get the job done.
And it's the defensive line. I think James Morris, I wondered what happened to him in the second half against Purdue. He wasn't out there. He's hurt.
He's been fighting some sort of shoulder arm injury, but I don't know that Hitchens is hurt, and they pulled him too.
They pulled him because he failed to execute.
Leading tackler in the Big Ten wasn't tackling. He was
Sat out the whole second
trying to
half.
knock people down.
he's the leading tackler in the nation, isn't he?
One of, but
And-
he's leading in the Big Ten.
Even Micah Hyde, who's played fairly well, is guilty of terrible tackling.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
throwing himself at
Yeah.
people instead of trying to
He
wrap
threw
up.
himself at him. The guy kept on running.
It's terrible.
A lot of arm tackling. It's very frustrating for us as fans
Well, how are
because
you
we
going
don't
to take
know.
care of it? Do we have people coming up? Or, the thing that gets me is we'll have 3rd and 7, and we'll throw a pass for 4 yards.
Yep.
Well, that's what we ended the game on. We had 4th and 3, and we threw a 1-yard pattern.
Yeah. And there were other receivers available on that. play.
There was a play. I'm just beginning to wonder if something's wrong with Vandenberg's arm, and that they never tell us about. They don't tell us much about injuries at all. But on the play where he handed off to Bullock threw back to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then he passed downfield. He hit Martin Manley, but somebody was open
Way down.
way down.
Which is who I thought he was going for.
Yeah.
And my guess is he decided he couldn't get the ball there. Something's wrong with the arm, which explains would explain why these passes keep going into the ground, or why we don't put it downfield.
Why play somebody that's
Vandenberg throw that last pass?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but he threw it right where Derby was,
Yeah.
and Derby caught it.
Yeah.
But he'd only run 1 yard downfield.
Yeah.
Well, we needed 3.
right,
And
I mean, don't you teach your receivers
right,
when you have to 3rd or 4th down, when you have to have a first down, you run to the stick.
right.
and that's happened so
Yes,
many
it
times
has.
this
Oh,
year. And conversely, on defense, how many times against Purdue did they have 3rd and long, and how many times did Purdue convert?
right.
You have back-to-back tough defensive stands.
One guy that's injured, Weinstein.
For Iowa?
Wiseman?
Yeah.
Oh,
Mark
Wiseman.
Yeah.
and it
think-
doesn't look good for him this weekend
No,
either.
that made a huge difference. But he had Brad Rogers blocking for him.
That's right.
And
the
Brandon
first
Scherf.
2 games,
Yeah.
he was blocking for Bullock
Yeah.
or whoever the running back was. And then when Bullock and Garmin got hurt, and they moved Wiseman to running back the second half of the UNI game, he had Rogers blocking for him. And we haven't had that since.
But you don't think he's going to play again next week?
Kirk said he was better, but they weren't counting on him,
Yeah. I don't think he's
wonderful
well.
if he could get him in there.
which may be enough to make Brady Hoke worry about him. And,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much gamesmanship in what coaches say now. They don't tell you much of anything about injuries.
And Michigan is the first ranked team we've played this year. Am I correct?
Yes.
Northern Illinois.
Were they ranked?
Michigan State was ranked preseason, but they went downhill quickly.
Which is always nice.
Purdue had not won a Big Ten game.
Well,
That's right.
and then I think Minnesota was up in the rankings. They hadn't lost a game when they come to Iowa City.
They
No, they weren't. I don't think they were ranked, but they're bowl eligible.
That's right.
Right.
Saw that in the press. Citizen
They're
today.
traveling and we're staying home probably.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we're going to be.
It's not
Oh,
impossible.
no, well, it's not impossible. You can't win 2.
This
But I noticed this morning the Las Vegas odds.
No, not even.
They don't
in
even
there.
have us on the
No,
board.
it
haven't
was
had.
20 points.
Where'd you find that? 2 days
Early-
I've been looking for it.
They think
Monday, I
they
think
think
I
we're
saw
so
it.
bad that they don't want to set a line on
No,
it.
I haven't. I noticed that they're not in there at all.
So, Bud, you're not going to the Michigan game?
No.
No. Well, it's a shame what Coach Ferentz and the kids have had to go through.
But Kirk's got to be just stomach churning.
Yeah.
10th game of the year, you're not tackling. That's got to drive
And
me
his-
nuts.
Go
I
ahead.
talked to Kirk Friday before the iClub,
Garden Club.
you know,
Oh, iClub.
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
and in fact I talked to Jim and the oldest, what's the oldest boy?
Oh, Brian.
Brian. And I just felt so sorry for them because they were all down, you know. And then by the time I got through talking to them, they were all ready to go, you know. It's just,
Breakfast and Senior Day have a way of getting you up.
oh, yes.
And that's, I think,
And they're wonderful people. Oh,
oh, yeah. You want the best for them. But a Kirk Ferentz coach team's signature, I think it's fair to say their signature is they get better each week throughout the season. This team seems to be, at
down.
best, flatlined, and worst, continuing to sink lower.
Well, the reason we beat Michigan State was defense.
Yeah.
that's right.
We played well. We protected the outside. We tackled. We covered receivers.
I thought we were going to have the
Defense
best
kept
defense.
us in
I
the
was so
game.
happy after that
Oh,
game.
yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Because
And
we
it
had the
just
running back,
disappeared.
and then he goes out.
Well, and it's not just that they disappeared, but
I'm like, you
the
only
way
missed
they disappeared. The very next week, we had Penn State at home, and they tore us up in the air. Then the next week, we go to Northwestern, and they tore us up on the ground.
Yeah.
It's just mystifying. It's baffling, and I bet the coaches are pretty baffled too.
Well, maybe it's pregame preparation, you know. Somebody's to blame.
Well, there's going to be some blame passed around if they
Well,
lose 6
and then-
games in a row to end this season.
You know, I'm not saying I want anyone fired or anything, but some of these coaches only signed a 1-year contract, too.
Well, the offensive coordinator, Greg Davis.
I said I'm not going to mention.
Well, but Kirk has said something about
Him
he
staying?
thought we were on board with Greg Davis. Now,
I did, too. I was so happy.
Well,
no, meaning he thought we were past
Oh, yes,
when
right.
Davis was hired. He was hired on an
Interim.
interim basis, but Kirk said something that sounded as though
Yeah.
that he was now a permanent hire. I think an honest assessment is we don't have as much talent as other teams in the Big Ten do. And
that's probably the biggest
that
issue.
goes to
I think
recruiting.
injuries have hurt us.
Big.
Oh, absolutely.
Big.
But everybody has
I
injuries.
know, but
They've hurt us badly.
badly.
We just don't have the number of quality players this year, and that's all there is to it.
Well, in Michigan State and the start of the Penn State game is where the worst injuries occurred.
Yeah.
Wiseman got hurt
Wiseman.
as he scored
Right
the
at the end of the
touchdown
game.
at the end of the game.
Yes.
Sheriff and Donald get hurt in the first quarter against Penn State.
Almost back-to-back plays.
We have no idea when
Wiseman,
Brad
to
Rogers
me,
got hurt because
Wiseman
Kirk
was the
won't
big
tell us,
loss.
so we didn't see it.
And you got those two big guys, Wiseman. That hurt.
Yeah, it did. I think what hurts even worse is just the lack of numbers in the senior and junior class. The upperclassmen have just vanished from school.
You know how much time we
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, between dropouts and kicked off and you know.
We have that every year, though.
But
Not as much,
not
but
like
we,
this.
we
That's right.
have, of this year's class that would be fifth-year seniors, we've had a couple leave early, like Riley Reef, but there are only 5 that are making significant contributions to this team, and that's not enough.
no, when you recruit roughly 20 kids in each class and you've got 5 contributors.
You get to the last year, you need 10, 11, 12 guys out of that class
Yeah.
who are starters. We don't have it.
Don't have it. And we just don't have the talent this year, and it's a shame. It's been a tough football season, but it's been an even more difficult home season. Holy cow.
Yeah, the Nebraska game will be a sea of red because, I mean, you could see empty seats Saturday for the Purdue game. There were more tickets for sale outside the
Oh,
stadium
boy,
than I've
everybody
seen
had
all
tickets.
year. And I would bet, they announced a sellout, but I would bet it was closer to 66, 67,000.
Yeah. The
And
student section wasn't full.
Nebraska will grab up every empty seat that
Well, the
exists.
students aren't here either.
Well, we've run out of time. We thought we might want to talk about the Peter Gray situation, but we'll save that for another day, especially when we know more about it. It's just another embarrassing situation for the athletic department, and not for the athletic department so much as for the university. I don't think it's an embarrassment, again, to the athletic area, but there's a lot more coming on that. It might be slow to develop. It sounds like Sally Mason is investigating, looking into it instead of,
The police chief?
yeah, instead of burying the story. It'll be interesting to see how that all develops. We don't have time to talk about it now. I do want to thank Pat White, my mom's favorite member of the Sports Opinion
Happy to
panel.
be here. Enjoyed it.
And
Always
hopefully you'll be back after Christmas when Bud takes off. We could sure use your insight to women's basketball, not to mention men's. And want to thank everybody for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Every Sunday night we replay the show at 6 p.m. That's on Channel 18. If you want to look at the show other times, you can always find it on my Facebook page, or as our friend Joe Murphy has kindly put up here on the screen, you can always find it at patv.tv. They've got the shows saved there. And if you can't find it anywhere else, give Bud a call after midnight on his home phone. He'll tell you where to go. On behalf of Bud Supple and Earl Murphy and Pat White, I'm Dirk Keller, thanking you for watching the show. And remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks, never give up.
Go Kirk.
Go Kirk. Amen.